AI is absolutely crazy, and I don't think a lot of people understand the level of where it's at today. I remember when I first got into using AI for running my freelancing business, kind of startup agency, and I remember I would type in to it about 2 or 3 years ago, "Hey, act like a copywriting expert, act like this, an expert in this," and it was specifically ChatGPT, and it would come out with just garbage results. And I know everyone can probably relate to this, especially if you're watching this video and you watch any of my previous videos I have made. But seeing it where it is now, seeing it where I can type in the same exact thing. Right now, I'm actually in Copilot, and I'm typing in, "Hey, I want you to act as an expert in this specific field, in the copywriting field, specifically with a focus in YouTube titles, sophistication levels, um, temperature levels, and understand how you change the messaging with all that. Please run through that and kind of create just like act like it." And of course, it uses ChatGPT 5, I think it's 5.2 now. And it's absolutely insane. It's what the same prompt that we used 2 years ago, which was everyone kind of pushed out the same thing and it's just trash, is now actually pretty solid. And I shared that with my dad the other day because he works as trade compliance for this company, and he's like working for pretty much the whole company in trade compliance. And he was talking to someone actually around my age who's around 23 to 25. I'm 22, but around my age. And my dad mentioned him like, "Hey, have you considered using AI?" And the guy's like, "No, I haven't really dabbled in it. Like, I only used it a little, but he's like, I don't really think it's useful." He's like, my dad's like, "I think you should try it out." And so that was a Friday. Fast forward to Monday, the guy came back. He's like, "Dude, this is absolutely amazing. Like, I just put into Copilot all these like PDFs and started merging it. It was kind of almost putting like outputting what I wanted. It's not 100% there yet, but he's like, it's absolutely amazing." And my dad was like, just like smirking on his face. He's like, "Yeah, I know." He's like, "Have you tried like writing act like this expert, like act like expert in this thing?" And the guy was like, "No." He's like, "Does it work?" My dad's like, "Yeah, it's pretty solid." And so that kind of like blew his mind, and he was like, "Whoa." And so there's a lot more steps to it, like a lot more levels you could take it. But it kind of encouraged me to make this video because I kind of want to run down about what I'm doing, what I'm finding successful with the 130K per month revenue. Well, not revenue, but I guess profit. It's revenue more so. 130 month profit or revenue, whatever it may be. Um, Kind of low ticket company that I am a marketing lead with, and going to be kind of peeling back some of the layers, some of the things that we do. I'm not going to give a more specific like tactics. I think where I want to really take this channel, and I know someone asked the other day about, "Hey, can you create a script?" And I was kind of just like chewing on it. I'm like, okay, do I really want to? Should I make a video? Should I not? And the problem with the challenge, I don't like the word problem, the challenge with trying to give you like the tactics, giving you kind of like an AI channel where I'm like, "Hey, here's a script." The thing with that is it could be outdated in 6 months and it's not really useful. And so that's where this whole video, when I'm talking to you, a lot of times it might just be me to camera here where I'm not really giving the necessary, like, okay, you go in the thing and do this, you go into Claude, do this, go into Grok, go into ChatGPT, whatever it may be. I don't think that's not really my purpose here. My purpose is to elevate you to the point where you are working with AI and are ahead of the curve with it. And so when I even think about this, when I'm working with a video production kind of agency where we have kind of like a streaming service style type of service we provide, it's going to be very different in terms of that versus something like trade compliance like my dad's doing. And so when I think about, okay, can I really package this in the script? Sure, I can, but is it going to be 100% useful if I give it to someone who's in trade compliance versus me who's more of an agency? And so that's the argument where Someone would say, well, you just focus agencies then. And I'm like, no, that's not my focus here. My focus is to elevate all people in business. All people in business, all people, yes, they could be entrepreneurs. That would be great. That's like one of my main focus. It could be freelancers. It could be business owners. It could just be employees who want to get ahead of the curve. And so that's my focus here. And so this video is going to be specific to what we are doing, kind of peeling back some of the layers, some of the insights I have learned from the company I'm working with, the agency I'm working with, that we're working with about 5 to 6, sometimes maybe I think in the future 7 potential kind of projects, which are, if you will, clients. And so I'm going to share what is working for us currently, and I'm going to keep it as a high level overview that is probably beneficial in terms of going in the future and still going to be relevant in the future. So one of the big things that I outlined in the beginning was the understanding and kind of the difference in the AI models. It's interesting to see how we have progressed from, okay, AIs absolutely suck. They're like useless. I feel like I'm spending tons of time doing it. Now the same prompt I'm putting over there that I used to do a couple years back, now when I actually type it in and put it in, it's producing amazing results. And so it's crazy to see that progression because now we're going from oh, this app's trash to it's kind of getting exciting. Like I'm seeing more and more everyday people are using this. And now I'm not even using YouTube as much. I'm like, okay, I want to learn something, act as an expert. And so that's yesterday. I'm leading my team. There's some people who are interesting to kind of work with that I don't really have experience working with. And I've tried so many different angles on trying to talk to them. And I was like, I don't know. I just kind of throw my hands up. And so for me, I was like, okay, I put out everything into Copilot and it came back with all these results. And I was like, okay, let me give you some more context on this. And then we kind of went a little bit back and forth for like 10 minutes. But it saved me tons of time because when I asked him to do something, it worked. Surprisingly, it worked. It worked really well. I was like skeptical. I'm like, I don't know. It worked. And now we actually have a conversation going, which is more than ever I gotten really with him. Absolutely amazing. And I did the same thing for another person who's an artist who, whenever you critique, there's a difference between artists and creatives. An artist feel like you're attacking them if you ever give any like adjustments on what they're doing, and so for them it's like it's them pretty much. And so I was in an interesting position, like, okay, how do I really go about it? And I put in Copilot, it give me back the results. And so one of the big things I'm starting to see is if you're not a master, an expert in this field, then act as your AI to be a mentor, which is absolutely crazy. And so that's what I'm starting to do. And instead of watching tons of YouTube videos, I'm like, I'm just giving time back to me because it's like scraping that stuff. It's scraping like what it does. And obviously, if you give it more context about like, I give it context in terms of, hey, I want you to be kind of like a leadership expert or like a manager expert. I think leadership, an expert in leadership, and I want you to be my mentor and help guide me. And I gave it everything about who I am, where I am currently, my past experience, very quickly. It wasn't it took like an hour. No, this took like not even like 20 minutes to do. And so now it's, even though it might take a little bit of time, it'll bring you back so much more time. And so I think that's a goal as well with this channel, is it's not to give you a copy and paste because you just want the fast answer. It's using your brain here. And so if I can help elevate you to start thinking in different ways, plugging in different things I'm saying, heck, plop this video into an AI thing, then albeit I am happy that this has been helpful. And so that's the goal with this. And so for me, the first thing I realize is that if you're not an expert in it, and even if you are an expert, you can still plug in the AI, but share everything you know. That's what I'm doing. I'm reading books that are at the time where if I have a problem, I'm reading a book on it, taking that and applying it to this AI. I'm thinking, okay, Well, what about was copywriting? What about like the stages of awareness or temperature or sophistication? What if we had like a value stack here? Or what if we had there's different ways we can angle it. What if we did like a negative hook? I know those work extremely well when getting someone instead of calling maybe a demographic out. And so there's just these wisdom, these small little like things, contexts that it just doesn't have, and it's only going to perform as good as the operator. And so if you're not aware of that stuff, it can provide you maybe some of that stuff. If you say play devil's advocate, what are blind spots I'm missing here? What are things that we're not considering? That works amazingly well. And so the way I'm using it now is I'm having it kind of take the lead on it, but I'm also saying, okay, here's what I was going to do, but I'm curious to know what you generate and what you would suggest, and say where I went right, but more importantly, say where I went wrong. And so that kind of creates a feedback loop instantly for what I'm doing. And so that changes AI to being less of a, okay, this kind of sucks, to now it's like switching it to, it's like a partner, like a business partner, like another partner who's like a mentor to you. And so that's where I'm using it. Um, right now. So that's a number one. That's a huge thing there. Is that number two? I want to kind of touch on, maybe that might have been number two, whatever it may be. Point number two, I want to kind of start off with as well. That's very important is understanding the AIs, because this makes a huge difference. So one of the big things you hear people say when it comes to AI, especially on like X, people like talk about like Claude is the best for writing, for script writing, for copywriting, for coding. It's amazing. Then you have people saying like Grok is the best for probably like real time gathering and more like in depth thinking, which is great. And then people are saying ChatGPT just sucks. It doesn't work, which I argue differently from what I've seen. And I know I've talked about, I said I'm not going to really talk about tactics, but I think this is the case example of how they utilize this bigger kind of meta point, is this specific tactic that I'm doing right now that you should be applying and make sure that you are actively kind of looking at this stuff. So what I'm doing right now is specifically I'm asking Copilot, which uses ChatGPT 5, to kind of just act like an expert. And I'm generating these base files. And so I find it do incredibly well. Like I asked it to be a copywriting expert. It's like, okay, I'm looking up what like problem agitate solution. I'm looking at like AIDA, like AIDA. I'm looking at the four U's. I'm like, what the heck are the four U's? And like it started generating, as it was generating, it was like the four U's is has to be urgent, unique, um, useful, and something else. It was just something else. I'm like, I never heard that, but I'm like, that makes sense. And I was like, huh, interesting. And so it started pulling different sources together. And so I have found Copilot to be a good base to generate models, to generate kind of base models or base files, specifically like PDFs, and be able to take that and specifically apply it over to another model. Because what I do is I generate a file, and then or I generate like a PDF of pretty much like how, like if I want a certain process done, or if I want a certain kind of, would you say, summary or way of outputting or a way of like just information, basically like the knowledge base that I want to give like another AI. That's where I use it, because that's where I find it excel exceptionally. And so what I'll do is I'll generate that file, and then I'll have it on Copilot. Then I'll plop it into a new chat and continue on as if, what you say, as if I wasn't using that chat previously, like as that other chat, and see if it still has the same context to be able to run with the questions I have. And so, for example, let's just say I was doing this copywriting, and I had this whole channel of this whole like chat of like copywriting expert and like the things I'm looking at with my channel and all that. And maybe I feed some data about my channel and like what we do, and then I go back and forth with it, give it more context, etc. And then I ask it to generate a base file that I can give to any other AI or a new chat, and can instantly understand and provide the same suggestions, given I give it the same data about like our YouTube. And so when you do this, and then you take that, put it into a new chat, and you ask it the same questions you had in your previous one that has like all the information, and if it generates to a degree, to a certainty, to a certain um, kind of correlation or very very similar product or end kind of output, then you are in the right place to be able to apply that file and put it over into that Claude, which may be better for script writing, which may be better for or taking over to X and applying it. And so then I ask Claude, I'm like, hey, can you do this? And it'll produce the same results, but because it has a little bit better in terms of maybe copywriting, it'll take that to the next level. Just maybe slightly. It might turn up the dial just a little bit more. And that's completely fine. But that's what the benefits, that's maximizing what we're doing. And so what is the whole overarching idea of this? Of this like very specific example? Is that you gotta understand what your AIs do well. And what I'll do is specifically when I'm doing this or when I'm chatting, I have like certain questions in a chat, I'll actually have my Copilot up and then I'll have my X up. And then what I'll do is I'll copy and paste the same question in both. Obviously, they both have the same context. And I'll see what each one produces because they're going to have slightly different results. And so they'll both generate, and then I'll look at Grok. I'm like, okay, now put that into Copilot, or I'll do the same or the opposite. I'll take what Copilot has, put into Grok, and say, hey, this is what Copilot put in. What would you take from this? What would you apply to what you had? What would you just not add at all? Curious to know what you would contrast with this and play devil's advocate, be like an expert here, and tell me exactly what you do. And so when you do that, you'll start filling in maybe pieces or blind spots that it didn't consider or didn't go as much detail that the other AI thought was important. And so now you're mixing the best of kind of both worlds and having a cohesive, really file that works. And so that is absolutely amazing. That's one of the things that I'm doing. So it's really knowing the AI so well to know what is it solid at, and also using different AIs so you can get a holistic view of everything that you can use. And so when you get that, you're in the perfect world and you can absolutely excel with what you're doing. And so that's really everything I'm going to give for this. I think that's a lot of information. I know it's only 17 minutes, but I want to keep these kind of like these videos like specific to a couple things, or maybe even one thing, one idea, one takeaway, because then you have one simple goal to do compared to tons. And then you're like, whoa, there's a lot of different things here. I don't really know how to go about it. Or like, it's a lot of things, cognitive overload. How do I really, what's the takeaway that I should run with here? And so I think these are the two major things, and really just being comfortable and using AI and getting into it. So if that's helpful, let me know. I appreciate it, and I'll see you in another video.